Alright guys, Kremp again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Just days after Scump was questioning why Black Ops 6 has died a death it seems so quickly in favour of other games, Shotzzy has now found himself in a pretty similar position, calling out some of the major issues with the game as it stands. That means that 2025 is a massively crucial year for this esport and this just franchise in general to be turned around on a big level. The other day, Shotzzy called out players for not committing enough, but maybe that makes a bit of sense given the state of the game as it stands. Very much interested your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. We talked very briefly about like Black Ops 2 2025 based earlier today, but of course it's an interesting year for Call of Duty, as Shotzzy's about to kind of describe in a second. The current state of the game is not exactly ideal, but there is a rumour this year, and it's obviously as it stands kind of still a rumour, that this year's Call of Duty game will be Black Ops 2.5. Black Ops, some sort of Black Ops 2, not remaster precisely, but some sort of short sequel to Black Ops 2. Of course, BO3 was the sequel to BO2, but it's something in that ballpark. Rumours they'll bring back lots of the original BO2 maps, who knows. But the point, I guess, would be that BO2 was in many people's eyes kind of like gold standard for Call of Duty. That was around that era anyway, was when Call of Duty was at its best. That's now over 12 years ago since that game came out, and you know, here we are in 2025. So it would be the perfect time in many respects to, you know, for Call of Duty to fix up, drop a banger game, and also to drop something which equates to BO2 on some level. This I also saw going around here from T-Dog Smith. He was talking about what's a COD map that's semi-forgotten but deserves a remaster. Solar from Advanced Warfare, he's been out here now. To be honest, honestly, bit of a hot take, I didn't like Solar that much in Advanced Warfare. I thought it was good, but I actually preferred many of the other maps. I loved Biolab, for example. I actually really enjoyed Riot. I thought it was a fantastic map for Search and Destroy in that game. Solar was actually a little bit further down my list, but I do appreciate why people thought it was great, and it was, you know, a good map for sure in Advanced Warfare. I think famously the map that Dr. Disrespect spent a fair bit of time designing when he was at Sledgehammer Games. Detroit, of course, another map that I personally preferred to Solar, but still, Solar a great map. The problem is, could you remaster it? I mean, look at this map, right? Like, can you imagine playing this with no jetpacks? I mean, it's just not gonna work, is it really? So, okay, there is a ladder here, and I think there was a ladder on the right-hand side maybe here as well. But, yeah, it's not exactly gonna work. So this is the issue, right? If you remaster some of these maps, then you find yourself in a position where you might have to change the game entirely. I'm not sure about the Piccadilly pick there from aBeZy. Summary Dumont, I actually did really enjoy this map. I thought it was fantastic. Adam Assault was the absolute man on that one. I actually like this pick as well, which is Strike Zone from COD Ghosts. Legendary map in many respects. Of course, it was effectively Dome originally for Modern Warfare 3, was when, you know, 2011, when Dome was first around, I believe. And when Infinity Ward then made their next game in Ghosts, they effectively remade Dome on some level, but they massively, you know, redesigned the map. The map is totally different to Dome, but fundamentally the parts of the map are relatively similar in terms of the way that it's designed. And Strike Zone was great in Ghost. I mean, lots of fun for all the game modes, I think. So, and for pubs as well. So yeah, maybe there's something to think about there. Obviously, COD's got to definitely think about these things because the maps in the game right now are not where we need them to be. And maybe if this Black Ops 2.5 remastered thing comes through this year, we're going to get some of the classic BO2 maps back again, which is fine. But obviously, people want to know that the developers can still design maps. That's, you know, there's obviously all this debate in the community that, okay, sure, you can bring back all the old classics, but people do want to play new maps at some point. And the developers are capable of making them. I mean, we saw last year, 6-Star, Rio, you know, turned out to be excellent maps for competitive play. The pros speak very highly of them, and understandably so. But going forwards, are they going to be able to execute the same thing? I'm not so convinced because, you know, obviously Treyarch this year have arguably massively dropped the ball. Now, this is one kind of symptom of the problem we're seeing right now in COD. Formal, he's obviously getting ready to grind Halo again for the new season when that team officially gets confirmed, the OpTic Super team that they have tried to get, you know, put together, and obviously the format for next year and all that stuff happening, I imagine, relatively shortly. But Formal was playing a fair bit of COD when it came out. Now he's been grinding this Marvel Rivals thing. You're ranked higher than 99.97% of players worldwide. So I guess that is pretty impressive. And look, there are other grinders in the game as well. Illy says, new year, same me, and he's straight on the Twitch team, right? So this was 5:05 AM my time. So if Illy's in Toronto, that was 5 minutes past midnight for him, and the stream is live, you know, he's cracking on, Scrims, Chals, whatever, money on the line. Like, this is where he's been, and it's great to see Illy actually back in business as one of the few true grinders of COD. One of the other true grinders back in the day certainly was Gunless. This guy was telling stories how back in World War II, so the year that he was maybe the best, or certainly right up there in terms of his whole career, and unfortunately over the last couple of years it's fallen shy somewhat. I still look at Gunless's career and think that, you know, there was some missed opportunities there, or maybe, you know, maximizing the potential didn't always happen with Gunless in his career, for various reasons I would say, but, you know, he was telling stories how in World War II, he'd get up in the morning, he'd play pubs, then his team would get on for scrims, he'd warm up for scrims, play scrims all afternoon, scrims would end, then he'd play 8s, obviously, in the evening, and then everyone would get off 8s, go to bed, and then he'd play some more pubs, or like ranked play or whatever, before then going to bed himself, getting up the next day, rinse and repeat the same thing again. So Gunless was, you know, one of the absolute OG true grinders of the scene, and you know, here he is still today, grinding it out, but of course working hard to try and get those results in challenges. Speaking of this Omit team, they played Surge again. We saw them play the other day. This is Neptune's roster, which I believe is Neptune, Fellow Craze, and Luna's, I believe, and they played Surge again, and they won the series in basically the same way again. So just interesting to note, and apparently Surge, all the maps they played, Surge won the same two, the Vault and the Hacienda Control, and then they lost all the other ones. So look, I mean, it's not like these maps, apart from even the Hassi Hardpoint, were complete blowouts, but still, it definitely is interesting to see this wasn't a one-off. Like, we saw these numbers the other day when these pro teams struggling seemingly in practice against some of the challengers rosters, and it doesn't seem like that was just an outlier day. This story seems to be continuing of certain teams and players struggling against some of the top challenger teams. What does that mean for the state of challengers? I mean, it's also very frustrating, I would say, from a fan perspective, that we're not getting any Pro-Am tournament as we have seen in Call of Duty in the past. And I think there was a bit more hope this year, especially because the franchise payments have been returned and franchising doesn't really exist in the same way that it did before, that we might get more kind of cross-pollination between Tier 1 and Tier 2. And we're getting it in terms of scrims and even in terms of scrim results. But apart from the Esports World Cup, we're not really seeing any of that actually play out in reality. And a fair bit of that maybe is to do with the fact that some of these pro players, are they grinding the game as much as they should be? It's very interesting to kind of follow this dynamic. The players always talk about it during the year. Certainly the players that grind hard, they talk about it during the year, that there's many players that simply are not putting in the time. And if you're a challengers player, I mean, you can't put in all the time in the world because you've probably got to have a normal job on the side, or you've got to be studying on the side or something like that. And, you know, many of the players do this, but to be fair, some of the players do not. And they, you know, just raw dog and COD competitive to try and make it work into the Pro League. And if they don't make it, then, you know, obviously it's going to be, I guess, straight to Mackie D's or whatever for them and, you know, get the contract signed. But the reality is that a lot of these guys in challengers are grinding very, very hard indeed to make it through. So it shouldn't be a massive surprise, maybe, that some of these challenger teams doing well against the pro teams, especially if the pro teams are not, I would say, getting comfortable completely, but definitely more than we have seen, you know, let's say 10, 12 years ago. It was a big talking point going into the season, right? That the salaries were going down, the teams were going to pay their players less, the players would have to stream more, right? So, you know, to increase their revenue in that sense. Have we seen that? Maybe there's some evidence of that some players are streaming more than they would otherwise do to either make a bit more money or make up a bit of money elsewhere. But still, a lot of the players seem to be in a pretty similar position to where we have seen before. And also, it seems from a mentality perspective as well, it's been a big discussion over the last couple of seasons. The players these days, because they're on a salary, even if it's not the salary they were on a year or two ago, they're still on a salary. They're happy just to turn up, do their job, and if they come top 6 at a tournament, you know, it is what it is. Now, I'm sure there are certain players, given the way that the league currently is, who are very motivated to improve and get better and hope their team can really elevate to the next level. But it doesn't necessarily seem like that is a very widespread mentality, especially when it comes to people actually grinding the game right now. So as we saw in those couple of clips there, I shared them the other day, Scump was kind of describing, wow, this game is kind of dead. People are abandoning it. And of course, the players, as in, let's say, the streamers, it's understandable they're going to, leave, play Marvel Rivals, something else, whatever. Makes sense if the game is not in a fun spot. For the pros, that's where things are very interesting though, right? Because if the pros are abandoning the game, like the game's only been out for a couple of months, it's the start of the new year, the season's barely got underway. There's lots of prize money on the line, and yet lots of players, they're playing other things, they're taking some time off over Christmas, New Year, and fair enough, they've got to recharge for the new year, it's going to be a grind. But, Shotzzy's not wrong that people are abandoning COD for Marvel Rivals, this like Overwatch style looking game, and as he says, yeah, I guess it's better than COD right now. This COD right now is not in a good spot at all. Of course, the hackers are a big piece of it, but it's not the only problem with the state of the game.
How is it that fun? I don't understand that. It's literally, is it not Overwatch? Is it, maybe it's like the fact that there's just Marvel characters. I don't fucking. I guess it is better than COD right now in the current state. I don't blame anyone playing that shit, to be honest, dude. Oh, this Call of Duty right now? Holy fucking shit, man. Nah, the game is actually this game is actually really fun, but yeah, I mean, it's just hacker shit right now. It's kind of like pretty AIDS.
These are some of the grinders, of course. I mean, we've got Paulx, Neptune, Shotzzy, Drazah, obviously, and some others that are still playing the game a lot, but it's not clear right now that, many of these guys are really putting in the work that they need to put in, but it's understandable as well. It's just, this has got to be a big year for COD, because there are so many people that were having high hopes for this game, and understandably, and for various reasons, outside necessarily of Treyarch's control entirely, although the maps have been a problem, and ranked isn't great, but it might not be Treyarch's fault, it might be more on the Activision side. There was lots of optimism this year that maybe with Microsoft taking over, it was going to fix the game. That's not been the case so far. We're going to need to see some serious changes. But intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Just thought there's an interesting here from Wuskin. You guys might remember this name if you've been around the scene for a while. Notable UK player with his twin brother Scraps back in the day, the London days, and of course before that as well on a couple of teams pre-CDL. Now, of course, he was notable as a very good sniper during the 2020 season for Modern Warfare 19. Then after that, his time in the CDL swiftly came to an end. And, he's been doing some other stuff. I think him and his brother may have moved out to Malta to do some, different type of content that you could do out there that you can't necessarily do elsewhere. And, turns out he's made a bag on this Photon, I guess, coin or whatever this is. And he's now saying, oh, I've made it type thing. Let's not get it twisted. I was down 140 in 3 weeks at the start of December, but now he's made it work. Fully retired now. Could be time for me to get back on COD. So, I don't think this is actually going to happen, but I know that Wuskin was a well-liked player in certainly the UK COD scene, so there's been talks about, oh, well, maybe Wuskin now is retired because he's obviously made his bag, and he's thinking, well, maybe I can come back to COD and have a bit of fun with it, and, there's a tournament in Madrid coming up relatively shortly, likely with a Challengers tournament attached potentially at the very least as well. So very much intrigued to your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.
So the story behind me meeting Boo Boo Doo Boo is insane. Like, it was just through matchmaking. Like, so you want to know what it was?
What?
This is how much of a gamer I am, so you can fucking understand how much of a geek I am.
I kind of get it.
Is Coliseum fucking matchmaking. This guy has a carbine, and he fucking, what was it, like 7-shotted me? Like, it was the most insane carbine kill I've ever seen in my life. Like, obviously, I just started playing the game, but to me, I was like, holy fuck, who the fuck is this? And then I remember searching up his name after that game, and like, I was like, yo, you trying to like scrim? Like, and I hit him up like that, and that's how I met Boo Boo Doo Boo. Yeah, he was like a complete nobody, like at the time.
Damn.
What the fuck?
Because even Boo Boo, it's like I don't even remember when he came up. I guess y'all sort of.
And that's also how I found out or met Shotzzy. Is Boo Boo Doo Boo was friends with Shotzzy when they were like 10 years old or something like that.
What?
And he was like, and he was like, yo, like, I remember Shotzzy didn't play the beginning of H5, and he was like, yeah, we have this friend, like, Shotzzy, like, he doesn't play this game. He's playing, like, Black Ops 3 right now or something like that. And that's how I first met Shotzzy.
He's nasty.
Yeah, they were like, yeah, he's so good, though. Bro. He's so good. And in my head, like, I'm like, I have, like, this ego. I'm like, oh, like, I'm fucking AW Beast, fucking Huke the Nuke. Like, there's no way this kid's that good. Like, you know? And then I remember playing with him, and, like, he played it for a couple days, and it was, like, a year late after the game came out. And he joins my lobby, and he was like, yo, look, did you know you could do this? I'm like, no. I'm like, how the fuck did this kid, he doesn't play the game, he knows more shit than me? Like,
yeah, what?
That's his.
Now, do you understand? Like, this doesn't make